This is a 2-hour session. And again, we'll try, I was thinking just 15-minute breaks after the first 2 hours or toward the 2 hours. But if you feel that we might need, more breaks, just let me know. I'm always happy to do so. Breaks are good. And again, whomsoever here in this session today, that if you need any help after the session, specifically for something related to what we have discussed in the session, you can just also let me know and we can meet quickly in a one-to-one meeting after this session. I'm just looking up into the agenda here, just bear with me. All right, so perfect. And here, okay, that's awesome. So 10 a.m. to 10:10, that's introduction. I guess already done that. Overview of the presentation. We will obviously in this presentation, we will discuss key features, things like data integration, security, scalability, accessibility, and data types and validation in Dataverse. Um, After the first half an hour, we'll go ahead and discuss some kind of use cases and applications, business solutions and integration with Power Platform, case studies as well. And we can actually definitely have this a little bit engaging. And I think sometimes it could be boring just you guys listen to me. It's not, I don't think it's really, maybe sometimes I talk too much, I guess. Uh, and if you want to actually just interact, raise your hand and stop me anytime and ask a question. I think that will make it the most benefit. And if the answer is something that I can cover quickly without wasting your time throughout the session, then I will go ahead. And if it's something that at least will need some kind of elaborating, then I will take notes, and definitely we can reach out again and discuss that specific points. We will also today discuss development and customization, creating the custom tables, how we create these tables, utilizing the system tables, and that when you provision a database in a Power Platform environment, you have all these system tables, and why we are using them or why they are there, how to utilize them and how to use them. It's something that it's great to know. Automating processes. I mean, this is either through the work business or workflow that you can actually implement business process flows, and even the kind of like the work between Dataverse and Power Automate. And I know those who are from the Power Up program here, that you guys are going through Power Automate interaction with Dataverse by using the Dataverse trigger, basically to trigger a flow. So that's part of the automation that we can discuss here today. Developing apps, obviously here specifically, will cover the model-driven apps. So talking about how you start the model-driven app, you will see how easy it is and what are the prerequisites before you will start thinking, I'm going to start building a model-driven app. I do have my tables. I do have my Dataverse tables. When to start to build that model-driven app? That's a very good, important point. So we will discuss that as well. Then licensing, again, licensing, it's always something that I do have in my sessions, but it's very hard to cover. It's very hard to cover, but I will still try to navigate you through some of these main general guidelines of licensing when it comes to Dataverse, as well as I can provide you with the most up-to-date resources in regard to licenses. Live demonstrations of the core functionalities. So basically, this is where we're gonna go and see Dataverse. Basically, what is Dataverse? How it look like? How it's all started. All these kind of things, and then discussing obviously best practices, because this is very, 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 very important. Dataverse is something that within basically Power Platform. So you have environment, backend is Dataverse. Now what? Where did you start creating the tables and how to organize the work? Specifically, if you are following ALM, application lifecycle management, that you will develop something, you move it from one environment to another, you move it from dev to test. Maybe after test, you have quality control, quality assurance environment, and then eventually you move to production. So that's also part of these best practices. Again, also integration, customization, performance optimization is a very, very, very important point as well. And then monitoring, obviously, and maintenance. So after you have your Dataverse set up, You have your tables, maybe you build some applications on there, and then how you're gonna actually monitor and maintain this. So I'm trying to be aware of the time. Like I'm still, I passed like 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, heading to the third. And then the last one is open floor for question and answer. And maybe this is, I guess, it's let's just not keep it in the last minute. So please, anytime you have a question, raise your hand. I know that there is people just raise your hand, and I think it's just because they were saying that they are in the Power Up program. All right, perfect. That's awesome. So let's hop in. This presentation is actually, I found this presentation and I edited the presentation, or added to the presentation, basically not edited, but added to the presentation. It's part of a presentation called Introduction to Microsoft Dataverse by Ryan Jones. It's the Microsoft, or he's the Microsoft Partner Director of the Program Management. And it was actually presented when he was hosted by the legend, our legend. Everyone in Power Apps now know Reza Durrani. So if you know Reza Durrani, thumbs up. Thumbs up if you know Reza Durrani. He's in Houston, Texas. The guy is a legend, and I love him. He helped me a lot when I first started. Definitely great video, great teaching capabilities. It's just the guy is really amazing. And as you all know, unfortunately, it's not unfortunately, it's not fortunately for him, it's unfortunately for us, but he still actually, he promised us he's going to continue to provide these amazing videos and tutorials, and he is. So he was hired by Microsoft. So, we were very, very happy for him, and he very, 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 very well deserved. One of the greatest guides out there for like tutoring. Amazing videos. Definitely, I encourage all of you, anytime you have something, go to his YouTube channel and search there. And before you search anywhere else, because if it's covered there, definitely it's going to be kind of like the best place to get this information out. Follow him also again in LinkedIn to get like most up-to-date videos of him. So this presentation was initially there, and I just downloaded and added some stuff to it. And there are certain things we are not going to discuss, so I have to remove them. So let's get started. Okay, let's talk about data. And I understand that most of people who are interested in the Microsoft Power Platform are not data engineers or software developer by practice. Like this is not the job, and that's completely okay, because as we always says, like Microsoft Power Platform, it's a low code platform. A low code platform, it was not meant for technical people with a technical background. It was actually designed, developed, and strategized that it's for people with business background. Um, so you don't have to be a developer, you don't have to be a data engineer, and that's why it's just a great platform. Also in the Power Up program, we say that it's a career switcher program. So you are coming from non-technical background, you're trying to look into opportunities to switch your career, you join the Power Platform program, Power Up program, and that's this is basically the purpose of this program. But talking about data now, going back to data, data is basically the core. I mean, when we talk about applications, processes, analysis, automation, this is basically all based on data. So data is the core of everything, right? It's always our input is going to be data, right? So data is very, very, very important. And we are specifically talking about Power Platform. And I believe, and again, this is maybe just assumption, that most of the people in this session, they already understand what is, or they know what is Power Platform. If you don't, please raise your hand. If you do not know what is Power Platform, or just give me a thumb up or anything. And the reason for that, I will just hop into another slide to briefly speak about what is Microsoft Power Platform. But I would assume that everyone here already know what is Microsoft Power Platform. Great, perfect. So everything agree that they know what is Power Platform. So when talking about the data, and in the data, and it's in reference to the Power Platform, or again, the major, let's say that the main four components of the Power Platform, when we think about Power BI, when we think about the Power Apps, and when we think about the Power Automate, and then we have the virtual agent that Shaheen, he is not happy with at this point. But yeah, this is the main components. Okay, so obviously this all work around data, right? And that's why data in that case very important. So it's the input, and then on top of that we build some kind of application. So we have application layer, where we can actually capture data, and then we also have the Power Automate, where we can actually build processes, automated processes, based, for example, creating a new sales order, and then I need email to be sent to the customer, an email to be sent to the packaging department, shipping department. I want to change certain kind of, or go through certain kind of approval processes before the order can be processed. All this stuff where we can actually automate these manual processes using Power Automate, but it's also rely on that data. And then you have the Power BI, or before that even, let's go to the virtual agents, where you want something out of this AI, artificial intelligence, right? Artificial intelligence is based on data, right? It is actually building the knowledge, the AI building their knowledge or its knowledge based on the data that you feed them. Chat GPT, for example, at this moment, every time you ask Chat GPT a question, obviously he has a knowledge base, or it has a knowledge base. You will go through that, do some kind of analysis, give you the answer. But from your question and or from the conversation that you have with the Chat GPT also actually build knowledge based on that conversation as well. So that's why it's kind of like continuous dynamic learning for the Chat GPT. All right, and then the last one is Power BI. Power BI, where we're gonna actually analyze the data, where we're gonna actually show interactive reports where our end users or our executives or decision makers can actually see this data in a way that does mean something for them, right? Maybe you as a developer or a data engineer, you see the data in a different way. You maintain the data just for certain kind of purposes, but for that decision maker who need to sign a contract or give an order or decide about something, they need to represent this data in a very specific way. And this is where the power of Power BI comes. Now we have connectors, so data. So in the Power Platform, we interact with the data, or the data in the Power Platform is through two things, through connectors, and the next one is going to be the Dataverse. So connectors basically is these actually APIs, if you think about it, if you come in from background development, or connector, just think about it as the name really advice. It's just a connection, right? So I have my Power Platform, and I want to actually connect my Power Platform to a database or a data source. You have all these connectors, right? And for example, something like SharePoint, right? And I know those who are in the Power App program, they use SharePoint sometimes as their data source, or even Excel. So you have to go and then add that connector in your Power Apps, for example, which will help you to connect that app that you are building to that data source in this case. So that's also part of the data. So data in Power Platform, either it's Dataverse or it is your connectors, right? So that's going to be the same thing. So now what type of data? As we said, two types of data. It's either connector externals. So that's when we use the connectors. Connectors is to connect to external data sources, right? So imagine the Power Platform. I know you go to make.powerapps.com, you start a Canvas app, or you start a Power Automate flow, right? Or you are in the Power BI, you want to build a report. So you downloaded the Power BI desktop, and then now you want to connect to the data, right? So you have either the site, I mean, obviously, is your data is external. That's mean it's external to the Power Platform, or it's actually internal. And here we see that external, that's mean you will need to use these connectors. And by the way, licensing point is connectors. Some of them are standard. That's mean they are coming with the same price or under the same price that you pay for your regular Power App licensing. And some of them are premium. So that's mean they need actually a premium license. And also you have these third-party connectors that you have to use as well. So these are also premium connection. That's mean they have to have license. The other type of data is Dataverse, and that's it, just Dataverse, right? And this is obviously an internal data platform. It's internal data service. Important thing that we also have to see that is why external data. I mean, why would you need to connect actually to external data, right? Again, it's important because most of companies or most of enterprises that they already have legacy systems. That means they have old system, old applications that were built, for example, in different kind of platforms, or they have data that is hosted in different kind of databases like Oracle or SQL, wherever it is, right? Snowflake. So that's just too many of them, right? Or some companies, they just have PDFs or Excel files, right? So the data, not always, obviously, it was in the cloud, and it could be on premise. So connectors is, one easy way for us to connect to these data. Also, when we come to the Dataverse, we have to think about it, its home. So Dataverse is the database, it's the home of the data. It's actually inside the same home, same house. If you think about Power Platform as a home, then Dataverse live in that home. It's there, right? You don't have to connect to Dataverse externally when utilizing Power Platform components. Here we have all these connectors, as you can see, built-in connectivity to more than 450 cloud services, content services, databases, APIs, external, etc. Seamless hybrid connectivity to on-premises systems via the on-premises data gateway, which one of the issue that you guys had with the Power Automate, when you had to download and install the gateway, and we found out that this feature has changed. So now you just have to install that machine through the Power Platform or Power Automate desktop. Develop and register custom connectors. So you have all these connectors that you can use, as you can see, and you can actually also, let's say you have a system or you have a data that hosts it somehow, somewhere, and you don't have a connector for it. You can actually build your own connector. Obviously, you will need professional developer for this to do that, but you can actually, it's open, it's resilient. You can actually go ahead and build and create your own custom connector. All right, so next slide. Uh, and Before I go to the next slide, any questions so far? So we are in 10:25, and I'm looking to the calendar. So yes, coming there, coming there. No questions. That's perfect. No hands is raising. So that's amazing. Why internal data? Okay, go ahead, Sunil. Yes.
Okay,
Go
I
ahead.
just have one question. Thank you so much for conducting this, first of all. And the one quick question I have is, I think we might discuss this in further slides, but I just wanted to put this out there. I just wanted to understand from where this Dataverse comes. Like, is it SQL based or is it like Oracle based? Like, how is it originated and why we have this?
Yes, yes, definitely. So it was going to come in the actually, you're right. It was going to come in the upcoming discussion. But Dataverse is a SaaS data service. So it's software as a service, data service, based on Azure. Backend is SQL. Yes, perfect. So that's just to put this right there. Yeah,
Thank you.
I know that I was also wondering where is this data. It's just like, and again, but you do not have access to the SQL, so you cannot literally like. And I asked this question specifically. Actually, I remember when I start working with Dataverse. Okay, we know that it's back in SQL. It's SaaS. So can we have access to it? Like, can I see Dataverse in the SQL database? No, you can't. So you cannot have access to it as a SQL database. Yes. Uh, all right. Here, why internal data, is important. So, and this is again, think about it. Okay, when should I use Dataverse? Let's say, if you want to ask that question, or why should I use Dataverse, not, for example, SQL or Oracle, right? So why should I migrate, basically? Again, because we know that you don't have to, not, you have the connector, so you can build Power Apps applications and you keep your data outside. That's completely fine. and it happened actually in enterprises. But why internal data is kind of like a good factor to think about Dataverse. Again, first of all, it's a smart. Again, we're talking just performance wise, right? And we're gonna talk about APIs and calls, right? So definitely internal calls, it's better than external calls. We don't know where is your database hosted. Maybe it's a completely different country, different region, and then you have all these calls. So this is an internal database. It scales. So Dataverse, you have unlimited, obviously with certain licenses. You have just unlimited. It scale automatically. You don't have to worry about maintenance. I don't have to worry about checking my server. And those of you who are coming from like database background, right? You don't have to change like my server performance. I don't have to worry about all this. This is all part of the SaaS. That's why I said it's a service. It's a service as sorry. It's a service as it's, for it's just completely
software
yeah.
as service.
SaaS
Yes.
service.
Yes, it's a SaaS service. So it's a SaaS service. So you don't have to worry about the scale. We know that. AWS, we know that. It's there. So you don't have to worry about it's Azure, right? It's secure. That's just what is amazing. Again, it's might be complicated to build that security model. Not again, Microsoft is doing a great job actually to simplify the security when you are building your database or tables and apps and sharing with users and things, but it is very, very secure, very, very secure. Moving to again, think about it. If you are IT person, software engineer, don't think that low code platforms, and when I hear I'm coming just about Microsoft Power Platform, that has compromised any kind of security architecture at all, actually. So it's 100% secure, 100% customizable to when it comes to designing your security models. So yeah, this is something we will go ahead and show you, like just the how sophisticated and comprehensive the security modeling in Dataverse. It's just amazing. Okay, so the apps you can build, obviously, using Dataverse, talking about client apps, for example, Power Apps, you have Power Apps, model-driven apps. You have Power Portals, which is now Power Pages. Obviously, this presentation was a little bit old because the name has changed. And then you have the flows, the Power Automate flows, or, either desktop or cloud, you know, basically both of them. And then you have the AI builder, which is artificial intelligence builder. When you want to build like artificial intelligence models for text recognition or picture recognitions and all these kind of things, and interact with your data. So that's also something that you can build on top of Dataverse. And then you have Power BI, obviously, and most of us know Power BI because it was one of the first tools that led the way for the Power Platform. Um, and then we have Power Virtual Agents. One important point here, and again, this is when it comes to knowing that when I can do certain things, when talking about the client column right here. Like for example, when you talk about Power Virtual Agents, I'm going to ask this question, Shaheen, raise your hand because this is going to be in the test. Can you use or can you build a virtual agent using SharePoint or SQL? Yeah, can you? Who can answer that question? For example, right?
A build
I,
as in like to use as a data source or to use the data from there to show
to, yeah,
the result to
exactly.
users.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, we
I
can.
think Ahmed, we can that
We
one.
can.
Through
Perfect.
we can use like an action in the Power Automate, then you
Yes,
can like get rows or something like that.
that's perfect. And can you actually push back data? Can you do the full CRUD? Create, read,
Yes, there is.
and then
I think there
perfect.
is in Power Virtual Agent, like you can get input and output also
That's
from the
perfect.
Power Automate. Yeah.
That's great. And here, that second question, AI builder.
For AI Builder, what do you mean for AI Builder? To use it in.
Can you start build like AI model on data on top of data that is not Dataverse?
This one,
Uh,
I don't think, no.
Yes,
I
that's
don't
correct.
think you can.
That is correct. What about Power Pages, Power Portals, Pages?
This one's strictly Dataverse, as I know, for Power
That,
Pages.
and obviously, what is the model-driven app?
Also Dataverse only for
Perfect.
model-driven app.
And again, this is the rule now. Exceptions to that rule, obviously, you still can use virtual entities, or what we call them virtual tables. You can connect actually to data sources and create virtual tables in Dataverse and then build on top of these virtual tables. Again, there is a lot of limitations for virtual tables, but it's something that you can do. At this time, obviously, if you know that you can actually build or create virtual tables to two external data sources. One of them is SharePoint and the other one is SQL. And I know that there is in the future probably other data sources will come as well. Great. Again, this is for me is just one of that power that you can get, or one area of power that you can get out of your Dataverse. Now, coming here, what is Dataverse? Dataverse easily structure a variety of data and business logic to support interconnected applications and processes in a secure and compliant manner. That's again, this is an amazing definition, general definition, and it show you that what is the goal? Maybe you think about it. What was the goal when Microsoft decided to build actually Dataverse? What was the goal of this? Dataverse lets you actually securely store and manage the data, that you can use in business applications. Again, remember, Dataverse was not built to be just another database compared to SQL or Oracle, right? Or Snowflakes, or no. It was meant to be the support database for business applications that we are going to develop on that platform. So data within the Dataverse obviously is stored in tables. And then you have what is the table is a set of rows, formally referred to as record. And this is rows. Here the terminology is coming from Dataverse standpoint. And then you have the columns, which we refer to as fields or attributes, in a sense of either application development or classic database. Each column in the table is designed to store a certain type of data, for example, name, age, salary, and so on. That's what is basically we use for the column to store a specific data element. And then Dataverse includes a base set of standard tables. And these are the system table. When you provision the Dataverse in your Power Platform environment, you will see all these tables that there. And if you actually also had the option to load sample data, you can see also data at that time as well in these tables. These are the standard, but you can also create custom tables specific to your organization and populate them with the data using Power Query. All right, another question, and this is for then. When we talk about Power Query, Dataverse data or Dataverse tables, and then we have Power Query. What do we use between these two, or what do we use to reach to the Power Query? What do we call that? Anyone knows?
Data flow, I think.
Yeah. Hey, Shaheen, I'm gonna give you the certification today.
Thank you. Yeah.
Great, good job, man. Yeah, that's completely fine. Yes, that's actually a nice question, and I thought it's gonna be trivial question. It's just yes, it's the data flows, and again, we will show today where how we can start the data flows, so how we create data flows, and again, those who in the Power Up program probably went through load data inside the Dataverse solution, or from the table design view, and that's what opened for them. Basically, what it looked like, you have to select the data source. It says Power Query in the top left, but you have to select the data source, go through the Power Query, make any kind of transformation that you want, and then the last step you have to load either to existing table or just create a new Dataverse table. Uh, Perfect. And then app makers can then obviously use Power Apps to build rich application that use this data. That is awesome. Power Platform, again, I think we already covered this. Most of you know this. In general, I had this slide just in case. That's a slide I referred to in the beginning, that If you don't know what Power Platform, we'll hop here to see that it's a low-code platform that spans Microsoft 365, Azure, Dynamics 365, and standalone apps. These are the main 5 components that we have here. You have your data connectors, AI builders, and then you have your Dataverse, as one of these components. All right, perfect. Here, why choose database? As we know, data is a center of everything, and we mentioned this, emphasize this point. So it's really the center of everything a business does today. Like, tell me about a business that's not based on data. And again, if they don't even take care of the data or see a value in data in that business, this business will not grow at all, because data is actually the driving factor of any business success, right? So this type of understanding is important to evaluate or basically see the value when we are talking about database. To thrive and grow, businesses need to capture, analyze, predict, present, and report data, and do it all with a high level of agility. Agility means that the data can change, the requirements can change, the needs can change, and therefore that we need to be agile in a database that can actually help us through this agility. The developers that we have, that they develop application based on that data, they need to create also these technologies. Again, either they're going to create like automation processes, applications to capture data, or developing reports, or interactive reports or static reports, and create all these reports that can actually drive decision maker in any kind of company. So building out the data infrastructure is actually to enable exactly the businesses to do so. The data originate from variety of devices, applications, systems, services, and software as a services. So you have, for example, it's like from the day or from the time the employee get into the company, right? Let's say they have actually barcode scanner, they have a badge and they have to scan it. Like, that's a data capture. So they actually know what time this person came or what door they have access to. So if we don't have the data, if we cannot really basically digitize this kind of very simple process, come into the company and go to your office, or if you work in a place where you have access to certain places and not the others, how can I actually control that access without data? So here we can see that it is very important. This large and growing number of sources often consist of multiple data technologies that store different types of data, expose different APIs, and use mixture of security models. Dataverse addresses these concerns. That's the deal here. And with very, very easy of use. So you don't have to overcomplicate things. You don't need to have experts, developers, or security models or programmers. This is where Dataverse can actually exceed your expectations. Again, it's compliant, it's secure, it's scalable, and it's globally available as SaaS data service. As part of Microsoft Power Platform, Dataverse requires no or little code to be written, so it can easily be used by everyone from knowledge workers to professional developers. Knowing that it's built on Azure, organization choosing Dataverse can be confident that it's globally availability. It's Azure, so it's globally obviously available, compliant, scalable, and secure. Again, continue the use of Dataverse. And why? Standard, again, these standards is very straightforward. Standard and custom tables within Dataverse provide a secure and cloud-based storage for your data. Tables let you create a business-focused definition for your organization data for use within apps. If you are not sure whether tables or are you best option, what are the type of tables? For example, this is a little bit going into the technicality terminologies of the Dataverse now. Consider these benefits. Right here, it's easy to manage. Both the metadata and the data are stored in the cloud. So what is metadata? Again, maybe this is maybe a term that not a lot of people are familiar of, unless if you are coming from software development, metadata is basically the data about the data. So it's the information about the data. So when we build a table, and then you define that this table will have 5 columns, these the names of these columns, these are the data types of this column. This column is text, this column is going to store date, this will store currency, value, this will store her whole number, or float, or decimal. So this kind of definition, this kind of specification, this is the metadata. And then you do not need to worry about the details of how they stored at all. When again, this is advantages of Dataverse. Is it secure? Data is securely stored, so that user can see it only if you grant them access, not only on the level of the table, it's in the level of the record. And I remember, Shaheen, we did this, I guess, in one of our session, me and you, in the level actually of the record,
Yes, correct,
level,
correct.
yeah, and in the level of the column itself, right? So you can basically secure a column. I don't want them to see this column, or secure actually a record, or you can even have it secure to the level like they can only see, for example, the records that they created, or they can only edit the record that they created, but they can see the records in their department. This is the same table. So this table is accessed by HR, finance, and IT. Table X, call it wherever name is. So employees in HR can see everything and can edit everything and can delete everything. Let's assume that. But then we have people or employees in IT, they can only see the records that they created, like as employee in the IT department, and they can edit these obviously records. They can delete them without any problem. And then we have, let's say, finance. No, finance, that they can only see the records that they created and the records that only created by IT, but they cannot see the records that created by HR. At the same time, there are certain columns that they cannot see, for example, in that sense. So we will actually have that security where we uh, not allowing or only allowing the finance department to see certain columns. So this is just show you, the how this is magnificent. And again, how to deploy this and how to really configure this, very, very straightforward, very simple, out of the box, no coding whatsoever is required. Access to your Dynamics 365 data. And this was one of these slides was here. So to be honest, I just left it there. If we have anyone Dynamics here, then obviously they already know, Dataverse relationship to Dynamics 365 applications. Dynamics 365, it's Microsoft ERP system, enterprise resource planner system kind of thing. So we all know what is Dynamics 365, and if not, this is just an ERP system. So the data from the Dynamics 365 applications is also stored within Dataverse, allowing you to quickly build applications that use your Dynamics 365 data and extend your apps with Power Apps. Extend the apps of Dynamic. If you have CRM, if you have chain, if you have F&O, finance and operations, if you have field support application in Dynamic. So the data is already available in Dataverse. So if you want to actually extend the applications, these are applications in Dynamic 365, but you want to actually customize these applications or add some kind of process-based or process-focused app inside, that your Dynamic 365. You know that you can integrate Canvas app inside your Dynamic 365, right? So like if you have a finance and operation, service management module in your Dynamic 365 finance and operation, you can actually import or embed a Canvas app that use the data of the Dynamics right there, but to simplify the process. All right, we're not going to take that long here. Again, we are behind in time. So what is 6:40? That's okay. We should start creating actually 10:40. We should have started creating custom tables. So again here, rich metadata, logic and validation when we come talking about business rules, right? Workflows and business processes flows to ensure data quality and drive business processes. Productivity tools like tables are available within the add-ins for Microsoft Excel to increase productivity and to ensure data accessibility. Perfect. Perfect. We're gonna just continue until 11, and I promise when 11 come, which is I guess it's gonna be the break at 11. So we're gonna hop in and see all this in action. Actually, probably we'll revisit the slides just in case we wanna discuss the concept or overview, or just quickly read the concept again and show you how it's being done in Dataverse. Right, Microsoft Dataverse, what is in the box? When you come to Dataverse, what you get from Dataverse? What do you have in the box? You have security, you have logic, you have data, you have storage, and you have integration. And this is just a great spectrum of things that when we used to build standalone software applications, you have to literally think about every one of this as a project in itself, right? So coming to the security, you have users are authenticated by Azure Active Directory. This is in Azure and it's in your tenant. So that's mean all this authentication that already been built there in Azure AAD, Azure Active Directory, it's already there. You don't have to worry about. Environments act as a security boundaries. So within the environment, so when you create environment for multiple or specific project, that environment is a package, that environment is a container. You can have certain users, certain developers, certain admins, very specific to that project, to collaborate in this environment and eventually deliver an application, or deliver a data structure that is going to be used by end users who are in that environment alone. Then you have environments with Dataverse, which will add support for more advanced security models that are specific to controlling access to the data and the services in your database or Dataverse environment. Then we have logic, easy apply business rules. Like, think about this: you are building a model-driven app and you are working with your forms, and this is where we create these business rules. So I have a form where user enter data. If they enter specific data value, I want to either show another field or hide another field, or show an error message, or just even set a preset value on another field based on the entry of that that I determine which one to be, right? This is when we talk about business rules. Again, you can create these business rules and recommendation to apply logic and validation without writing code. This is all drag and drop, and creating plugins, for example. In that case, business rules provide a simple interface to implement and maintain fast changing and commonly used rules or stories. All right, here we have data, seamlessly discover, model, validated, and report your data, right? You have Dataverse over you with the control to shape your data, how you want it. You have the relationships that you can build there, again, through the lookup columns. So you will shape your data the way that you want. And again, remember that data that you are building in Dataverse, this data structure, these schemas, and then you use like the data flows or connectors to load these data from external data sources into your Dataverse, while you still have the full power of full ability to customize and structure your Dataverse. Microsoft Dataverse allow you to connect directly to your data using Power BI desktop to create reports and publish them to Power BI. From Power BI, reports can be used in dashboards, shared in other users or to other users, and accessed cross-platform on Power BI mobile apps. Again, here we have that prediction directly from Microsoft Dataverse across your platform solution, Dynamic 365 or Dynamic 365 with AI Builder, pre-built AI models such text recognition, business card readers, entity extractions, and more enable low-code AI for apps and processes. And this is one of the outbooks, components or objects that comes with your Dataverse. And then we have here the storage. Obviously, as we said, Dataverse is a SaaS data services. You can have trust that this storage is very resilient. You don't have to worry about maintaining hardware. You don't have to worry about backups. It's all actually managed for you. You don't need a database admin when you think about Power Platform using Dataverse. And again, support very, very smarter search. We might come to this when we are building our first table. Here, integration. Again, Dataverse connectors. You have data integration capabilities built into Dataverse, include Power Query and data flows. From data movement and transformation, leverage external data through actually virtual tables, as we mentioned, break down data silos by using multiple data sources in a single application. This is just one of the most powerful component of your Dataverse. And then here we have Dataverse talking about Azure Data Gateway. Go ahead, Bato. Yes, go ahead. So I can at least drink.
Hi, Ahmad. So,
My voice
not this
is
slide, but
actually leaving.
two slides
Go ahead.
before that, where he had shown Dataverse and the ERD in it. Is it possible to see it in Dataverse, or you have to? You can only see it in uh, Power BI. How all the
Uh,
tables are, how the tables are connected to each other.
oh, you mean, oh, you're talking about the
ER
ERD
diagram.
relationship diagram? No. So yeah, we don't have something that is actually in Dataverse now where you can show. Actually, this is a great tip. I would love to see that there is a way that I can just, see these related table at least in a ERD diagram. That's actually a great point. I would love to add this to somewhere, as an idea to be actually implemented. Uh, Again, I think it's because, remember, Dataverse will come with your standard tables, and then you will create your custom tables, and you don't have really anything. I think on the base of the solution. So if I have a solution, I think about it like this way. Let's say I'm going to build a solution, and then in that solution, I added all the tables that I need in that solution. And obviously, because these tables are in the same solution, so I'm assuming they all related somehow. So I think it should be on the level of the solution. So you go to the solution and you have a magic button to create the RDA for you. That will be actually great. Uh, yeah, that's amazing. Yes, obviously now it's all in Power BI. So when you ever use Power BI to create reports, you start adding these tables, and Power BI is smart enough, obviously, to know if there is any kind of relation, and it will actually suggest that relation or actually create it to you, and as you know. Yeah, but this is really good idea. I like it. Again, Dataverse, it's already in cloud, it's already in Azure, and you still have this kind of, integration or interaction. Drew, actually, he's one of the community supervisor. He's MVP. We had a session, was supposed to be last weekend, I guess, or no, it was in the last week, last Saturday in August. But for tenant related issue, it was just like the demo was not ready. We had to postpone that event, but we are still work on that. XRM tools, that's actually great. Who mentioned this XRM tools? Toolbox. Yes, that's an awesome idea. This is actually a tool, community tool. That's a community tool. It's not Microsoft tool. It's a community tool. You can definitely use it, and it will help you actually to do that. But again, remember, some organization, by the way, does not allow you to choose any kind of community tools. So basically, in my organization, I cannot use XRM toolbox. It has great features, definitely. There is just too much extensions, too many extensions there that I can utilize. But unfortunately, it's just a security policy. You cannot use something that is open source in a sense. Okay. Coming back to Microsoft for Dataverse for Teams, again, this is also something that you might have heard about, and specifically from license perspective, because this is not a full Dataverse, but it's specifically, this is a Dataverse just for Teams. We mean we're talking about Microsoft Teams. So you can, where you can actually build a low-code data platform for Microsoft Teams, subset of capabilities where actually the data platform behind Dynamic 365 and Power Platform, which is the Dataverse for Team, provides storage, rich data types with enterprise capabilities and one-click solution deployment. Literally, one-click solution deployment included for every team, customers, and governable, obviously, by IT. And it's a managed environment. It will create a managed environment by default. All right, this is just some information about Dataverse for Teams, and we know that obviously it comes with 2 GB storage per team, can support up to 1 million rows. Data can be shared across multiple apps, flows, and chatbots. Can be promoted to full Dataverse. So, if you want, again, that then will take you uh, out of the Dataverse for Teams licensing, which comes with your Office 365 Enterprise license. Here you will have to go to the premium license. All right, let's see what is the next slide. I just have 2 mini slides here. Security. This is storage capacity. Again, here I would like, this is going to be probably covering just the licenses, just to, for example, when we're talking about the Dataverse capacity, you're talking about the database, you're talking about the files. If you have data columns, if you have columns that host or store files, attachments, and then we have logs, or if you have also any add-ons on top of that, is pulled across the tenant and shared among all environments and workload. The first subscription of your Power Apps or Power Automate provides a one-time default capacity entitlement for that tenant. So every time you have a new license, and this is an example, if you have a Power App per user plan, would set the tenant capacity initially as 10 GB of Dataverse database, 20 GB of Dataverse file, a 2 GB of Dataverse log capacity. Each additional licensed user will actually provide an additional per user capacity grant that increases the overall tenant availability. This is it. So when we allocate these capacity based on the licensing, we have to look into consideration actually across the tenant, not only that one environment that you provisioned. It's actually throughout the tenant overall, like as a holistic kind of managing licensing. API capacities, it's also important, which is, the calls, the connections. We're talking about webhooks and eventings. And also you have to understand the Power Apps that has API requests. That's like, for example, you might not know that. So every time you use a filter function in your Power App Canvas app, that's an API call. Every time you use a patch function, that's an API call. So again, the licensing and the API capacity is important to understand. And here we have a little bit, just, I found this and I like it and I would like to share it just to give you an idea. For example, depend on the license, you can get, for example, 40,000 call here, and then you have 6,000 call, and that's if you have just Power App per app license, for example. Or you have the Power Apps pay as you go plan. If you have Power Automate per flow plan, that's a specific plan. Or you have Power Virtual Agent plan, or you have Power Virtual Agents add-ons pack. You get like up to 250,000 call a day. This is in 24 hours. Paid Power Apps portals login get like only 200. So these are something that has to be part of your architecture when you are thinking of building applications that utilize or built on top of Dataverse. Yeah, go ahead, Shaheen.
Ahmed, by this one, you mean like calls, like per day I can use this Power Automate request? I mean, like it should run
Yes.
6,000 times or like
Oh,
that per
no.
day?
So here, actually, not the run of the flow. No, no, we're not talking
Uh-huh.
about the run of the flow. We're talking about how many action inside that flow. So each action
Ah,
you have
okay.
inside that flow is actually a call. When it's actually a call, like list rows, for example,
Ah,
which
okay.
means to get,
I understand.
that's a call. Yes, yes.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
But no, the
Thank you.
Power Automate kind of triggers thing, how many can run, how many times a run. That's very specific when you come to discuss the Power Automate licensing. That's when you depend. If you have a flow that need to be run like, because now I think you have it like every 15 minutes, something like that. But if you have something definitely that need to run every second, you will need to jump into the Power Automate per flow license, and that's why you have
Ah,
this amount of massive number, 250,000 call.
yeah,
All right,
understood.
the vision. The screen where we're gonna do all the work. Let me know when you can see my screen. Come on. All right, perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and share now. All right. You guys can see my screen. Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much, Marcus, for confirmation. Here you go. We have now we are in the make.powerapps.com. Again, you might see. Let me actually open just my cursor enabler here, right? So you can see where I am. Why this one I cannot close? What is this? I don't want it. Okay. As you can see here in my URL, I use make.preview.powerapps. And again, this is just to have access to the preview features anytime when they pushed into preview. It's not by default something that you will see in make.powerapps.com. So that's why I'm using make.preview.powerapps. So to be able actually to see these features in preview. This is obviously an environment. I have multiple environments in this tenant here, as you can see. And the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to actually show how you create environment with Dataverse. That's what is a lot of people actually sometimes struggle with, and they want to know how we can do that. So the first thing, once you go to make.powerapps.com, and this is your landing page and your starting point, you will actually go ahead and you see that this gear right here. Let me see, yeah, right here. You have this gear. It's next to your, obviously your image or your profile image. You come here and you click on this one, and then you will see that there is the admin center. We'll go ahead, click on the admin center, and this will open the admin.powerplatform.microsoft.com. So it's something that you also can go directly to the admin.powerplatform.microsoft.com. And then the first thing that you will go to is the environments. It's in the left tab or the left panel right here. And then from there, you can actually see if you have any environments here again, or create a new environment. And in our case, let's actually call this environment is everything Dataverse, just the name of the session. The region default, that's where you're going to have to set up your region based on your obviously region. And then or the project, or the solution region. So you might be, yes, living in a certain region, but the work that you are building need to be in the US or Europe or something. And then you have the type of these environments, right? You have trial, you have developer, you have production, and you have sandbox. Sandbox and production, these are going to be counted against your capacity. So if you have certain capacity of data, as we mentioned, per license, per user, for example, you get certain amount of gigabytes. Only production and sandbox are counted toward that capacity. But if you have using trial or you're using developer, these are not counted toward your tenant data storage capacity. So this is obviously a developer program tenant, so I'm using developer. And then as you can see, when you select developer, it's by default that you cannot change them. So add a Dataverse data store right here. And then why it's not allowing me to do that? Because by default is actually enabled. So basically, developer type environment, it will be by default including Dataverse. But let's see that if we try production. For production, you will get actually the option whether or not you want to provision Dataverse. So this is very important. In addition to that, you can determine, if you want to have a specific payment plan in that case, or the option for pay as you go with Azure. And obviously, you have to have a subscription already set up in Azure billing, and or not, you can actually go ahead and create a new one. And obviously, this something has to be by the global admin or your tenant admins. But just to show you, production and sandbox, both of them, it's not by default you will see Dataverse. That's mean if you forgot to actually click this, when you go to the environment, it will not have any tables and it will not have a Dataverse. So that's very important to know. You can create a Dataverse or a database and build apps by using Dataverse as store for the environment. That's basically just short definition of what is Dataverse is. So here again for developer, as we said, it's default, and then we're gonna go ahead and click next. And again, remember in the developer plan, if you have developer plan, which is, are you part of Office 365 developer program, which is, for testing, not for production, testing and learning, right? You can actually create a limit of certain developer environments. So just here, that's a difference. So this option here, as you can see, deploy sample apps and data. It doesn't mean that it will deploy Dataverse. It will actually deploy Dataverse as a developer environment. But to have data samples and samples of apps, application samples, you have to click on this one. So you click yes and then save. You have reached. So I have 3 already environments. So that's why. So you can actually have only up to 3 developer environments, and already we have. I have like 4 of them. I used to have actually more than that. Look like this is a new constraint right here. So let's go. Once you do that, obviously you have your environment. I'm going to actually take you just inside the environment itself now, which has a Dataverse, and just take overview about the different kind of sections and things that you can do here. First of all, you have your URL, as you can see here. And again, most of you, when you created the first environment, you notice that you have a weird number of characters, and you can change that. You can change that by clicking edit. And here, as you can see, you can set your URL. And again, you cannot set the whole URL, but you see that you have the default part, which is this one here, which is crm.dynamics.com. You just give it a name. And as you can see, the name will be in the beginning, .crm.dynamics.com. So you can change the URL of your environment if you want. And from here, you can see all these different, it's a great dashboard, has a lot of things. You can see the updates. For example, here, my updates is turned off. I can actually turn that on for any kind of future updates that Microsoft has in regard to the Power Platform or environments. It will be pushed automatically if I have this on. And again, we do that maybe in developer environment, right, when you are developing, but do not do that in production. It's not a good idea. Go ahead, Pedro.
I had the same question as Marcus. If you once you change the URL, does all the links you have in
Yes.
the directly
No.
into the get updated?
No. So there's 2 places only that you have to remember. If you have URL used, like Power Automate Flow, for example, you have a Power Automate Flow will send a link to a certain record. That link to a certain record in a specific table will have this URL. Part of it, it has this URL. So if you have that in Power Automate Flow, it's not going to automatically change that, because that was basically hand coded. You have it as go to this URL, for example, or hyperlink. You have like hyperlink HTML tag in a body in an email that will be sent from the Power Automate. So you have to go change that. Similarly, if you have Power BI reports that is connected to your Dataverse, you will have to go and change the URL. Actually, the dataset will fail the next time that you refresh the data set, because the URL has changed. So usually, as a best practice, and here we're just going to cover best practice as we go in, to be honest, just because probably we're not going to have time to just have a section for best practices. But here you can see that in the beginning, try to decide about your environment URL as good practice, definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah, you have security roles, you have teams. This is Dataverse teams, Dataverse team. This is actually very important. And again, just because of the time, I wanted to actually dig deep in security today, but I think it's going to be just too much. What we can do is you guys can go. I have actually a great article. I really spent a lot of time in this one. It's actually a video, and I took you through the detailed implementation of security modeling in Dataverse. If you go to my blog site, and if you go to Dataverse, if I can see Dataverse right here, and then if you go to security, this is, so for example, like one here, one, by the way, Dataverse, under Dataverse in my website, I'm covering a lot of these topics, by the way, like for example, tables, form validations, how you do like validation. And this is a little bit advanced because I'm using JavaScript here, people like pro developers. But the tool that I'm providing is for citizen developers that do not know JavaScript. So I built a tool and it's in GitHub. It's a solution basically. You can download to your environment and use it to create certain kind of validations based on JavaScript. Talking about formula columns, it's already there. Comparing Power Apps Dataverse choice columns with text values. This is kind of like also uh, Canvas app side of things. Implementing column level security. Remember, we mentioned that finance, we will block that specific column. So finance people who are using the same application, that using the same table in collaboration with HR and IT, they cannot see a specific column. This is going to be covered here. Then we have, this is SQL things, how to extract Dataverse choice option sets value and load labels. This is also something that, when you create these choices in Dataverse, we're going to come to them in the table, and you have these choice objects. If you want to just extract them as a list in Excel, how you do that, because there is no way out of the box. If you are not using XRM tools, it might have actually one of the modules or the feature to do that. But again, I'm building kind of like most of my content. Usually I do not do any kind of tutorial using community open source tools, because I know that especially in the US, there is too many just enterprises and organizations or companies will not allow you to use community resources. But let's actually go to that here. Dataverse role-based and record-based security how-to tutorial. This is a very comprehensive tutorial about how security model work. Actually, we start by even our security model, build our security modeling. As you can see, I have here, the business unit, the root, and then I have manager business units, and managers oversee other child business units, southeast, northeast, midwest. These are different teams in different places, and then from there we come and start actually creating these business units. It's just in details, talking about role-based level security and privileges, and then uh, to the end of this, you can actually, I think it's in this one here, is actually how you even assign certain kind of roles to existing records. Because here's the deal. Some people actually start building application in Dataverse and they have their data already there. Then they learned that we need specific structure security model. But how are we going to implement it for these existing records? We know that new records, it will follow the structure, right, or the hierarchy, or the implementation. But what if we have records that we want to, and this is where you come and assign actually security roles to existing records. This is, again, you have the blog, and you have the video, and I think the video is actually even long. Yeah, here it's actually 39 minutes. That's not bad, but it's just an average. It's very long, I guess. So that's definitely, will cover that. Going back to here, security, that's where security roles, you have the teams, and obviously I'm talking in that blog about teams, how to use them. Users, if you want to add users to this environment directly, and obviously that's not best practice. You have to add them as teams or groups, and then assign these security roles to groups and teams, not assigned to just one individual user, for example. And then you have your business units. You have your backup and restore. So you can create manual backup, or actually you can restore from a previous backup, right? So if you wanna, you can go ahead and click, like, the name, for example, and then you can create a backup. That's a backup name. Or you can actually restore an existing backup. Also, you can reset the environment, and this is reset the environment is only for developer environments, and I think sandbox as well. I don't remember that part, but it's not for production. So in production you cannot reset production environment, for example. So this option is not in production type environment, but you can clone the whole environment. You can actually copy this environment and just make another copy of it if you want. This will include your Dataverse, your applications, your data in Dataverse, everything you built in that environment, it will be copied. One thing I want to show you here is it was specific to the, yes, this is number one, auditing. Remember, any system job and user interaction, CRUD, create, read, update, and delete, interaction with the data, it will be audited. That's mean it will have a trail. You can actually see who deleted what and who changed what. And you can see also the system jobs as well. If you have another admin on this environment and they created a backup, you can actually have this, but you have to know that by default it's off. So this is off again because it has capacity, right? It has, remember, the capacity of Dataverse, it's the database, the files, and the logs, and any add-ons. So that's why it's turned off by default. So if you want it, then you have to turn it on, and you can decide how long you want to keep this, basically the logs of your environment. This can be forever, custom. You can put certain custom days. It can be like 7 years, 2 years, 1 year, wherever. And again, I know that some finance companies by law, they have to keep maybe records for like 7 years, some companies 3 years. Sunil, yeah, go ahead please, and ask a question.
Yeah, so I just wanted to get some answers around this auditing itself. Let's say we decide for going for 180 days, right? So before 180 days are covered, can we download this and keep it separate?
You can make a copy. Yeah, you can make a copy. Or you mean download what? Download the auditing?
Download the audit.
Oh yes, you can do that. It's not really download. I'm not really sure about that, but because the last time I did something with the auditing files, you have to use Power Automate and you have to use HTTPs. So you have to basically use APIs to connect to this data, right?
The only reason. The only reason is that so that I don't have to buy enough more storage for that.
See, so now I cannot talk to this. See, again, maybe there are certain things are not allowed because, again, someone has to make money, right? This is a product, and obviously, so that's yeah, maybe, but there is a way to interact with the auditing data and actually use or export the data somehow. Yes, you can do that. Yeah.
I have to read how to read that data once it is downloaded, I guess then.
Yeah, you can definitely. So I actually built an app. It was a Canvas app. And again, you have to use Power Automate so you can connect to your auditing files and tables and basically read the data. Yeah, you can read the data. You can, even start a Power Audit. Like, for example, I want any delete event to happen in this specific, like, let's say I have a very secure table, like very, very valuable table, like asset. And I know that there's people who has access to delete. I want actually in that specific event of deletion to actually receive an email immediately, right? Obviously, when you delete something, you cannot restore it, by the way. So if you delete a record, you cannot just go and restore it at this time. You cannot undo an action on Dataverse, so you cannot. You just have, but at least you can actually track down what was deleted and recreate it, basically, in that case.
Okay. Restore is not there then.
Yeah, but probably it will. I would assume it's some because auditing is not something, it's optional. Not a lot of people use auditing just because, again, it's big, and I will show you something very soon. But this is how you do the auditing. Talking about, again, coming back to the auditing, if I go to the Dataverse, and this is under analytics right here, I can see, for example, this is basically my dashboard to know that how many active user I have, how many.
This is coming from that same audit, right?
No, this is actually
that is the data for it.
Yeah, this is actually under analytics in the under environment. This is outside that environments, right? So it will show you the active users. It will show you the system jobs that you have, when you have too much, and so on and so forth. You have also Power Automate as well. This is where we actually, as admins, you will come here if you have usage, if you want to see it. And as you can see, it's all based in Power BI reports, by the way. These data is all based in Power BI reports, but this is all in this environment. But I can change, obviously, this environment, for example, and go here, and I want this environment. This environment is the most active environment because it's my environment that I built all these tutorials and videos. So I can see that, there's something that happening here. I have 2 errors. If I go back to the Dataverse, we can see, also, I guess I need to change this to Ahmed Saleh CRM. Is this the one? I don't know which one is the environment that it was. Probably this one.
Understood. I'll take a look. I don't want to eat up someone else's time.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
That's great. Yeah. No problem. So we went back, once we created the environment, we have the environment now. So we're going to go back to Power Apps. And then obviously you all know now this. You click on environments, go to that environment. So I'm going to go to this. Now remember, we have a new feature that just came in last week. So now you can actually click here. There's these ellipses. Do you see it? You can see the details of the environment. And it show you actually what are the apps in this environment. This is amazing. What
Sorry,
type of
Ahmed.
environment?
Sorry, Ahmed. Just one quick question, right? What we are discussing right now. Can we go one step back, please?
Sure.
Yeah. So right now here we see the number of environments we have, right? And the environments which are categorized into two parts. One is built app with Dataverse, and the other ones are the other environments. So does this say that if any of the environment is under other environment that does not have Dataverse?
No, it doesn't. So at this point, you don't know which one has a Dataverse. No, you cannot. There is nothing that would say here. Hold on. Let me actually revise this here.
Okay.
This one, no, you're right. So the other environment, these are environment without Dataverse. Yes. So if that was the question, right? Is
yes,
to
that was
categorize
it.
These environments with Dataverse, right?
Okay. It does not
This
mean
one,
that I do not have access. Let's say there is one environment in other environments, right? And or let's say one environment is in built app with Dataverse and I do not have access to it.
you will not see it. You only
I will
see
not
this.
see it itself.
No, you will not. You have to have a security role in that environment assigned to you to be able to see actually even the environment here.
Right, correct.
Yeah. So you will not see all the environment as just a user, not even as an admin, because as an admin on the level of the environment, you are only admin on that environment. But if you are a global admin in the tenant level, in Azure level, you are a global admin, or the other security role, we call it Power Platform Administrator. You will see all the environment in the tenant.
Right. So in single sentence, we can say that any environment which we see under the category built apps with Dataverse has Dataverse enabled with that.
That is correct.
That is correct. Got it.
Right. So here, need your own environment. It's free. Create and test apps. See, now Microsoft actually getting you to get into this, and it's worth it. Believe me, it's worth it. It's just it's amazing. So here, just show you that you can start here and click environment. So we are here in the environment again. The one thing I was talking about is now you have, this is a new feature. This dots here, it's a new feature, came last week, and then you can see the detail, or you can go to the admin center directly. We used to click here to go to the admin center. Now you can go directly from here. So once we have the environments, then we come to the solutions. What are the solutions? Quickly, solutions are containers for a project. So I would definitely recommend that always think about that. Whenever you have a project, I need to create a solution for that project. That's where you start, right? You have to start by the solution. To start a solution, you click new solution, you give actually a name for the solution. So let's actually call this Dataverse. Let's do everything Dataverse. Now you have the publisher. What is the publisher? So basically, this is Sarah. Yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
Hi, I was just wondering, that new feature for the community environment, does it feature everything in Power Apps that you have access to, or on the admin level, or is it just anything that's involved for Dataverse that you have?
You're talking about the environment settings, this one here?
Yeah. Well, if you went back a step, the new feature where it's the community 2023, yeah. So
yes.
Let's say if I have like a Canvas app, would it show in there, or is it only if it's connected with Dataverse?
No, it will actually show you. If you have apps
Okay.
in that environment, it will show you.
Okay.
You just have to see details, and it will show you these apps.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
And then I had a question on top of that. You said like they want you to sign up for that free feature. For those of us who are in the program, should we sign up after our access expires or before?
No, it will never expire. So if you signed up for the Office 365 developer program and you have this email, which is probably your name at the 5 random characters, no, that's and as you can see, this is even mine. I have this in 2019.
Okay. So they'll sync.
I'm sorry?
Oh yeah.
It will
that's
stay there. Yeah,
Okay,
if you have this, That's will stay there. What
Okay.
you might lose, and I'm not sure, what you might actually lose after you graduate the program is the @learning with Power App email
Right,
address.
right. Okay.
That might be basically invalidated somehow or sometime. I don't know
Sure.
what is the time for that.
Makes
But no,
sense.
the environment, and that's why we ask you to create that, actually sign up for that developer program, because you will keep continue learning, continue to learn actually in your tenant and your environment. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate
yeah,
it.
no problem. And one thing that you mentioned that we have 20 minutes, but again, I'm not gonna let you guys go until I finish. So,
Mhm.
uh, so you guys gonna probably stuck with me a little bit longer than 2 hours. So
Yeah,
here,
I'm sorry, Ahmed. If you don't mind, please, may I say something? Because we only have 20 minutes, and then I have to hop my for kids soccer,
okay.
game. So if you can cover this quickly, and then maybe later on you can, ask questions if anybody has, so everyone can learn whatever you're going to teach today.
So you want to ask a question, or you want a list of the questions being asked?
No, I just want to see like how you're making table and how you're moving forward.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, you know what? Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Good point. Yes, yes. So here, we're gonna come back, create the solution. I said it's number one. It's the container of my project. So this solution, we will call it actually, Community Rocks. It's actually called Everything Dataverse. Right? Then the publisher. Who is the publisher? Right? So here we have the publisher is basically the owner of this solution. That's if it's a company, for example, you have to give the company. If it's a developer in your organization, that should be that developer. Or if you have a team name, like you have a team of developers and they have a name, like for example, you have squad, what call it here, Zebra, for example, right? Uh, let's not, what is Zebra? Like let's say it's a squad, squad one, right? That's the name. Just have that. And then here you have the prefix. This is very important because every object table, when you create a table inside that solution, it will have this prefix. When you start coding these prefix, or even like using data flows, these prefix is very handy. So you need this because it's kind of like the identifier of each object that you have in that solution. It's a column, or it's a table, or it's a choice, or whatever, solution aware power automate flow. All these, it's going to be the logical name, not the display name, the logical name that you might have to use in the code. And this prefix is very important. This is just something that you need to know. So this one, for example, we're going to call it dv, when I call it dv com. Let's just call it like that, right? And then I will save. Now I have a publisher I created, or you might have an existing publisher. And once you have an existing publisher, you want to create the same solution, then you will just go to that. So now I have this, and then I will go ahead and create. Now I created the solution. Immediately it will take me inside the solution. Now this is your working space, right? This is your solution. Show you how many app you have, how many card, how many chatbot, how many cloud flows, table. That's where you have, it's a container. So the first thing we're going to do, because of your time, we're going to create a table. So the first time you want to create a table, and obviously here I'm going to create the table as the schema of the tables. You obviously can create Dataverse table by importing data through data flow, or in that case, you will be actually using, for example, connecting to external data sources. So you have table from external data sources. So I'm going to click on table. I will create that table. So here, the first prompt, you have the display name. So we're going to call this table one, right? You have the primary column name, and the primary column is a very important column. But for those of you who are back end developers and database, this is not the primary key column. Don't think of it as the primary key column. No, inside the model-driven apps, we can have relationship between tables in our apps. And then you want in that app the user to be able to navigate from one record to another related record. The value that you will have in this column here, it's going to be hyperlink inside the model-driven app. You can click on it. right? By default, out of the box. You don't have to write code about that. So wherever you're going to decide this primary column to be used for, make sure it's user friendly. So it's something they understand, right? Like, for example, if this table about employee, obviously I will have this as the employee name in that case, kind of things, right? So that's just what is the primary key. And you can obviously here go in the options and see whether or not I want this to be a required field, or to be a recommended field, or to be optional field, right? So, and also I can actually decide whether or not, and this is also going to be a text, cannot be a whole number. This primary name column, it has to be a text. You can decide the maximum amount of characters here, and I think the maximum is, you can have a lot. I'm not sure if it's 5,000. Yeah, the maximum is 4,000. So I had it in the beginning, right? So you can have up to 4,000 characters. That's just too much. Get it back to 100 here, and then I will click save. And with this, I actually created a table. That's a table, and we will see. We just created a table. We didn't add any columns, but if I go to the columns right here, and this is where, see where I am now, I'm in under tables. I click on the table. This is what we call the table design, space, basically. Here you have the schema, so you have your columns, your relationships, your keys. I'm going to talk about this. You have the data experiences, you have forms, views, charts, and dashboards, right? So, and then you have the customizations if you want to do like business rules or commands. So in the columns, the first thing that we have here, as you can see, we have actually 2 columns. Not yet. It's actually, we have more than that. I'm going to go ahead and refresh. So once you create a table, it's by default going to create to you like just too many system columns. They are still obviously propagating in the back end. It's modified by, modified on, created on. You have the version, you have the owner. There's just too many system columns will be actually created for you. But what I want to show you here, see, when we created the table, do you see there here? This is dvcom underscore the name, basically the display name of that column, right? And this is the table itself, right? This is here the table itself. We have it here. So this is going to be the logical name. You have that prefix everywhere. So this is just an easy for you when you start coding and you want to reference these columns, and then you need to know which table, which solution I'm talking to now at this time. But here you're going to have, as I said, multiple system columns. We're going to just wait for it until it comes. And then meanwhile, let's actually add a new column. You click on add a column, which is here, right here, or new column. Then you have to give it a display name, right? As a best practice, usually we say if there is Excel or anything, try to not use space in the column names. Just do not use space. So here we're going to call this, let's call it like, for example, employee ID, right? And then I will come here and I say that what is the data type, right? So the data type for this is going to be number. And obviously in the numbers, you have options. It can be whole number, decimal, float, language code. Haven't used this before. Probably it's just something for globalization. So when you want to change languages, duration, time zone, you make it whole number. What is the format? Is it going to be a duration? This is all out of the box. Duration is usually a calculated column that we have to build in SQL, for example, right? None or time zone. And then you have behavior. You want it simple, calculated, or roll up. These are calculated. This is going to be a calculated column. Obviously, from the data type, you have power formula. These are formula using Power FX basically to create a calculated column. That's a new feature, still in preview. And then you have the optional or the requirements or whether or not the value that to be entered in this field or column, is it going to be optional, required, or recommended? And once you're done of that, nothing else. Here are a little bit important stuff. Enable auditing. So by default, if your table has enable auditing, then you can have what column, you can determine what column I want to be in the audit log in your table, what data in what column. So this is where it comes here that I can decide, no, this column, I don't want it to be audited, just, to be kind of conservative to save some kind of data in the audit logs, right? Anyway, it's by default, but here we can enable column security. When you click on this, it doesn't mean that it will block the column, but again, if you enable column security, you will be able then to utilize this column when you are creating, because you have to build security profiles. And it's also actually in one of the blogs under Dataverse. I showed you it's how to create column security profile. It appears in dashboards, global filters, or it's sortable. These all are part of the advanced options for the columns. We created now the column. It's done. Now, the next thing that we're going to create after we have our column, employee ID, it's very simple. Let's actually go back to the table, right? We said that in that table, we have our design or our design space. I'm going to go actually now relationships. So we have relationships. You can actually create relationships here between a specific table to another. So this is where you start. You want to decide many to one to many to many relationships. So you create this relationship. That's one place. Or if you want to create actually relationship, you can create it from within the place where you create columns by creating a new column, and then the type of the column has to be a lookup. And then if it's a lookup column, it's by default going to create a relationship for you. So if I decided I want to create a lookup column, that will create actually a relationship for you. In the lookup column type, data type of a column, you will have to select the related table. These are the tables that I have in this environment. So I have to select that table. And obviously, there has to be some kind of key or primary key, we call it foreign key kind of relationship. So it will actually build that relationship for you in addition to the column. But going back to the keys right here, sorry, the relationships, that's a relationship. Now we have the keys. This is where we determine the primary key, right? So if you actually created a new, we call it here alternate key, it used to be, or in the documentation, if you actually looking up, it's called alternate key. So here you can actually come, give it a name, and select a column or more to be actually part of your alternate key. So basically, I can decide that the employee ID is going to be my alternate key. Or I can have an alternate key or primary key as combination of two columns. Like I can say employee ID and name, but you cannot have a date type column as an alternate key. You cannot do that. So date cannot be part, and I think also calculated columns cannot be part of alternate key as well. So this is how we create alternate keys. Go to the forms, how we create forms. Again, usually it's propagating in the backend, but when you create a table, and see, these are out of the box things. That's when we said that it's not just a database, because this is not just a table in a database. It comes with all these things that you can do in that table. Create forms, create views. Let's start by the views, for example. Let's actually go ahead and see the active view. See, these views, I didn't create all. This is all came to me. You have active view, inactive views, quick find views, advanced find views, associated view, lookup view. These are all just coming. These are all none. We didn't write any code for this. It's just right there. So if I go to the active view of this table, right, I will see all my columns, and then I will build this view. So I basically drag and drop a column, right? And again, this view, once I start building a model-driven app, that's going to be where the user will see the data. So I can add this. I can add also, for example, modified on if I want. I can remove a column if I don't want it. So I can remove this. And here you can filter this view in a specific way. So I want it actually to sort names, for example, like descendingly. Or I want, for example, like let's say that I don't want all the records modified. Like let's say you have a date column. You can say and come here, I want to actually filter by, I want it to be on or after, on or before, today, yesterday, this month, this year, and eventually, do we have custom here? I think we don't. Yeah, you have here, for example, last X weeks, last X days, last X years. You can have this here, last 8 years only. Show me. Once you do that and you have data, that view is set. That's it. It's done. You did I write any code? Nothing. That's you just save and publish. And you can do this, and all of a sudden, like all the apps that are using this view, it's done. It's pushed to all these apps without you have to worry about deploying or anything. It's just gone. It's there now. So when they open the app, they will see this view as it is, right? So this is the view. Similarly, when we talk about the forms, It's the same thing. So what is the form? So you now see it's propagating now. So this is now came in. The form is basically where the user can actually edit or create or delete or enter actually data. That's what is the form. So if I go to the main form here, this is my main form. So I can actually start adding these records. You see, drag and drop, modified by, and again, we didn't create that much custom column, modified on, right? So, and I can see, I can lock, like I can come here to this one and I said, I want to lock this. For example, like I don't want the user to be able to enter anything here, for example, right? Or you want to, hide, or you want to just make one field, for example, read only. See, that's a read only. Do you see right here in that left side as here? So these are the forms. And by the way, these are the forms that we're going to use again in the model driven app. So I'm going to save and publish. Again, we have not, this is not specifically about here. You can add grids and subgrids and where we do the JavaScript things, components, web resources. This is all here. And again, I have articles that just one part of this, like model driven apps, talking about forms, talking about views. You can just go deep in this and see how exactly we do complex stuff, right? So now we have the form, we have the view, and we have the columns. You obviously can create charts and dashboards, and we have the business rules. That's what I want to do here, just to show you some. So we're going to create a new business rule immediately, and I will show you there is no code whatsoever. This business rule is going to be deployed either on the level of the data, for like the database, or in that specific, you can select specific form, for example. So as you can see here, and probably you can see it in the scope. Do you see? So it's asking you, what is the scope of this business rule? That's, like basically, is it entity level? That's mean it should be applied to every single record, obviously, in that entity or in that table. That's mean if I'm using Power Automate, if I'm using Canvas app, interacting with the data in this table, this rule I'm building now, it's going to be applied on, right? So you have to remember that, right? But if it's only on the forms, then I can select the form, or I can select a specific form. The information here, by the way, this is what by default created for you whenever you create a table. That's what is called information, and you can change the name of that form, right? So whatever information, whatever form that you have, if you remember here, going in the forms, you have this main, right? So this is the main form. So if you create a new main form, that's will be one of the option you can see here. So you can apply this business rule only in that form. So that's when the user is interacting with the data through that form in my model driven app, this rule I'm creating here now, it's going to be implemented. It's going to be validating this input and interaction in this form. So this is here. As you can see, there is no code. This is just a view, nothing code. So you have a condition, start with the condition. And from here, we're going to say, this is obviously the entity, the table name. And then what is the rule? That's we have a rule created by. So I would say the entity, that's the table, basically, of me. I want actually, let's say that, say what? Let's actually say employee ID is equal to, and this is obviously not a use case, but let's say employee ID is not equal, let's say here, greater than, because employee ID is a whole number. That's why it's giving me this arithmetic operation, greater than, and okay, so let's say employee ID is greater than type value. What is the value of that? Greater than, let's say, 2000. Okay, that's one rule. What should happen? So you have here, that's mean when the condition is met and when the condition did not meet the criteria. When the condition is met, I want actually to do something. So I want to lock, let's say, lock what? I want to lock. So I'm going to select the name field. I want to lock the name field. I want to lock it. So that's one. All right. That's if it met the criteria. Is greater than 1,000 said, or 2,000. Say 2,000. Now, okay, what if it's actually did not meet that? It's not greater than 2,000. So I want to set, for example, field value. I want to set a field value, I want to select that same name, and I want to say actually what, for example, less than 2,000. That's just for example. I'm gonna get here and apply. It's done now. Now also what I want to do another action after I set this value for the name column. I want to actually use another thing to do here. I want to also set, for example, show an error message, right? Where I want to show the error message, I want to show the error message in the employee ID, right? So what is the error message? Imagine this. If you are a developer, you cannot enough. I don't think you can enough appreciate this. This is just amazing. So here, like enter value greater than 2,000. Be nice and always say please when you use error messages. So click apply. I'm building this. Imagine this. It's in all kind of fields. You can do this, right? And as you can see that you have these actions, recommendations, lock and unlock, show an error message, set a field value, set default value, set business required, set visibility. For example, if you have a field or a column that is not required, right? You didn't remember the option we selected. Is it required or recommended or optional? It's optional. But based on the user entry, you want to actually set that field to be required at that time. You can do that right here. Okay. So now we're going to just go ahead, save, and then go ahead and validate. Validation is it completed? Yes, it's completed. And then once you click validation, again, this is not just about business rule. I'm going to just show you activate. And here we go. And now we are activating its process. So we are activating this business rule. And then we're going to go ahead and activate. Done. It's done. It's active. You can come and obviously deactivate to edit, right? So what we're going to do here, that is correct. The question is, does the business rules work for Power Pages? That's if you have it, if you have a form that you will use in Power Pages, right? And you have the scope of your business rule is all forms, and that form one of them, obviously, then it will be there. Similarly, if you want actually in Canvas apps, because Canvas apps, we usually don't use the forms right there. We build gallery, to look like, or just use an edit control form, right? We edit form. So if you want to have it there, then you actually apply it on the level of the entity. That's mean the table itself. Or if you want to use it in Power Automate, even the Power Automate that interact with the data, you want actually to have that business rule applied there, it will be there. Without any problem if you have it on the scope of the entity. Okay, so going back here, last thing we're going to do now, create a model-driven app. Again, we didn't cover everything obviously here, but these are the just, for those who are leaving exactly 11, I want to show the app. We are in the app. We don't have any app. I'm going to click new app, model-driven app. That's it. It's done. It's just a click. Give an app a name, like what we call it. It's DV app MDA, for example. That's a weird name. Is that okay? I'm creating the model-driven app here, and it's just doing the things, loading the app. The app is done. Doesn't have any pages. Click add a page. So what do you want to create the app from? I want to create the app from a Dataverse table, from a dashboard, from a URL, from a web resource, or a custom page where you will build a Canvas app basically inside your model-driven app. Custom page is building a Canvas app inside your model-driven app. So we'll say Dataverse table. And then what is the table that we have? We call it, I think it was table one. That's a weird name also. And then I want to show this in the navigation, or you can create a new table, add. Right here, we have the table. I didn't create anything. I already, obviously, we don't have any data yet, but this is the app right here. So if I play this, save and continue, I have an app now. I have an app with a delete button, with a refresh. I have an app with objects or components like visualize the view as Power BI, email a link, Power Automate flow, run a report, Excel template, export to Excel, import from Excel. Nothing. I did not do anything. It's right there. Now I'm going to go ahead and create a new. Do you see here? Right here. Less than 2,000. That's the name, obviously, because remember, we set the business rule. if this is less than 2000, show me this, right? And obviously, because it's still blank, it's also showing me the error message. That was part of the business rule. Employee ID, enter a value greater than 2000. So I'm going to put actually 1500. I still have the error there. Less than, less, yeah, if it's less than, then show me this. Like, what about it's actually greater than? What was the rule exactly? 2000. I forgot what was the rule. But anyway, so anything, anyone
Yeah,
want to say something?
yeah, at that time, it was the rule was only set for the less than. It was not for the set the field value for more than.
Oh, okay, okay, perfect. Yeah,
That's
perfect.
right.
So as you can see here, this is now locked. So in it, it's locked. So here, less than 2000. So if I actually put 2000, okay, now because I don't have less than or equal, so I now put like 2500. It's still locked. Oh, this locked because the form as I actually lock it. But this is just to show you because we have this field in the form setting as locked field. That's why it's actually locked right here. But actually, just to make sure, I'm gonna go ahead, go deactivate this, and then let's see here. What is the condition? If the value in the employee ID is greater than 2000, when that's mean lock. If it's greater than is lock, and then
Yeah.
if it's less, oh, that's if it's greater than that. If it's not
Yeah.
greater
On the
than,
greater than, we are not setting the field value actually. That's the reason.
yeah, okay, that's perfect. Yes, okay, makes sense. Right. So this is how you see it, and this is on the level of the form. And again, once you enter data here, and I just actually save and close, and I want to show you this. Here you go. You have the record. You have actually this. You can actually check out this, right? You can play with this. Let's say you have a lot of data. You can come here as an end user. You can come and filter. You don't have. We didn't build an app to do this. That's just right there. You can come and click and edit and go ahead and edit the record, right? You can assign this record to a certain person. Let's say that you have or a business unit security model. So certain user cannot access this record, cannot see this, but I want them to access this record. I can do that. I can share that. I can even email this record, select that record, and I click email here and email a link of the selected item. Do you see this? And then it will actually go ahead and open email. Okay, come on. It's taking some time here. And it will allow me to send a URL, create an URL, and open an email prompt where I just put the name of the person that I want to send them the email, and it will go there directly. And this is all that something that we just did, with clicks, clicks, and clicks, and that's it. It's done. Nothing else. That's a model-driven app, for example. And again, this is a very simple model-driven apps. One thing that you will find here, I think it is in the model-driven app. So if you go to my blog, Power Apps model-driven app, you will have here like this one, embed a model-driven apps and work with, no, that not that one. There's one actually even nicer than this, where you can actually get model-driven apps and Canvas apps together. So here, embed a Canvas app into model-driven apps. And this is a full tutorial and it's a video. And I think this is even a full session, but it shows you how you can actually embed a Canvas app. It has a little bit JavaScript. So, but again, all the code is there. So you can definitely refer to this and it's there. It's a lot of fun to integrate these both like Canvas apps and model-driven apps together. All right, perfect. So getting back to the model-driven app. So now, as you see, you have your model-driven app. You can see that you have your data. What I have in my data, I have this table. Click here. I can just go ahead and edit the table, like right here inside the model-driven app. I can go ahead and create new row or create actually a new columns. And once I click save, everything I did, it will be reflected right here back into my model-driven app. So this is all part of what, right? Remember, we are all talking about this is all functions within the Dataverse itself. So this is not just a database. This is a database that actually support building these business application in a robust way. Very quick, very efficient. You have full control about business rules, full control building calculate without writing or typing any code. And again, in complex scenario, advanced applications, you might write some code. you know, like when we use JavaScript. But in most cases, in 80% of your needs, you do not need to know all these kind of things, right? Now, coming back to the last thing here is if we want to load data into this table, obviously you will come import data, right? I want to fill this table now with, you know, with data, right? So I will select that table and I will come to import and I will click like import data or import data from Excel. And then here you go, the data flow start for you, and then you select your data source. And as we can see, or we will see, the amount of connectors or you know connections that you can use to connect to external data source or internal data sources is just amazing. Today is this environment very slow. After this, we will pause and just open it for questions. Just maybe to cover most of the thing that you might came up to hear here in case we didn't cover yet. So we can just answer those in type of QA, right? So it's loading and it's taking a long time today. This is usually not the case if it's, you know, if you're working here, right here, you have these connections. As you can see, you can click see more. You can get data from Excel, text files, XML, JSON, folders, PDF. Like if you have data in PDF in a tabular format, like PDF, you can actually convert them to Dataverse tables. Obviously, SharePoint's MySQL database. You have, I believe we have Oracle. You have SAP right here. You have the HANA and you have BW applications. You have other data flows that you have built and you want to use. And this is basically specifically for Microsoft Fabric. You can see it's in preview right here. Azure Analysis Services, Synapse Analytics, EDW, another Dataverse, maybe in another environment. If you have Azure Tables, let me actually select, do we have, I believe we have, yes, we have Oracle database right here. So you can get actually from there. You have also Salesforce for those of you ever use Salesforce. It's another ERP system as well, enterprise resource management platform. So you just select what is the data source, and then you select that data, and you go through the process here. Click of ETL, obviously, extract, transform, and load, and you will have your data back in your table like this. Now go back to the the table. Remember the columns I told you that see how many columns we have? These are system columns created for us. We didn't do anything about them. We didn't create anything. Remember the one that we created, I know how I filter them. I come to name and I go to contain and I just use my prefix. I'm not sure if it's my prefix DV. Yes, see here, these are only, and this is actually by default when you create the table, but I have created only the employee ID. And everything else, if I clear the filter, all these are system columns. You didn't even create these. This is not a typical database table creation kind of thing. You have to create every single column by yourself in a traditional database. That's why it's not just a database. With this, I conclude. Thank you for those who are going to leave. I really appreciate your time. Again, we're going to have the full thing online. Any related things to this specific topic today, you go to my blog post or blog website, go to Dataverse. If I go here, you go actually to Dataverse, and you have Dataverse, you have model-driven app, and you have Power Platform administration as well. I have implementing the column level security and the Dataverse role-based security. These two are must to master security in Dataverse, and it's comprehensive. So I know that you probably might have few questions here and there, but it will cover most of it to really build security model on enterprise size, not just for like small applications of Dataverse. All right, perfect. Let's actually open it for questions. Go ahead. If you have any question, yeah, hit me with your questions, please. Let me actually just go on stand mode again. I usually switch between sitting and standing. So yeah, go ahead. Any questions, please go ahead and ask them.
Okay. Let me start with that. So I have one quick question. There are a lot of entities which are like the by default ones, out of box ones, and then we have the custom entities which we build whenever we need to build any application. So we create databases and then we build the custom entities. So
Right.
custom entities are the one which are being built by us just for everyone else as well. So
That is correct.
now when we create any custom entity, just like you created table one, right, which is being
Yes.
used in one of the Canvas application or model driven application now.
Right.
Now, what will be the basic security role required for anyone who is accessing the application for all the CRUD operations?
Not only one security role, there is too many security role will give them access to that table. So for example, if you have if you assign them like service reader, then that's a security role. They will have access to that table. Like if you assign a user, a security a service reader. Let's go back actually, you know what, to the environment itself and see the security roles, for example. So I'm gonna go to the environment. I will come to the security roles right here, and these gonna be all the security roles I have, and then I will show you that what are the different security roles that might actually give access. But service reader of them, environment maker, for example, and again, I think there is, if you talk about like Power Platform, there is a table actually, Power Platform security rules. It's actually not rules, it's rules. Rules, no, it's rules. I think it's right here. Do you see this access level? This is on the level of the business units. Like if you create business units, and this is actually the role based, but this is not the one that I want to show you. I want to show you, okay, on the users. Nope, not this one, not this one at all. Let's actually, yeah, Bing is not helpful. I'm gonna go Google. Google is a guy who actually give me my things first time. Nope. Come on, don't force me to use you. Yeah, configure, that's it. You are. So you have, for example, this is actually, let me actually share this link with you. This is one of the most important. That's why you see that I have visited this multiple times. It's just all the time here. So you have environment admin, you have environment maker. Obviously, this is when you have environments without Dataverse database. When you provisioned production environment, for example, a sandbox without that environment to have without the option of Dataverse. These are the two rules you have. For Dataverse, you have all these rules as well, fully described. So it tell you, like for example, if I go to the basic user for out of the box entities only, out of the box entities. That's mean if you assign a user basic users, they will not be able to see your custom tables. That's number one. Okay, so let's go to, for example, service reader have full read permission to all entities, including custom entities. This role is primarily used by the service required reading. And that's why most cases you will have to create your own custom, by the way, custom security role. This is out of the box security roles. Like this is what provided to you. You select from it. Like, if I come here, oh, still loading. And this is definitely not right. So let's say actually I have the users and I will select one of the users. I'm gonna add who? Alex. Do I have Alex here? Let's say add Alex. I have Alex Wolper. Go ahead and add him. And now once I add the user to this environment, it will ask me to select the security role, right? So right here, I have to select that security role. Remember, like these are out of the box rules. Most of them, I have some custom rules, not yet in this environment. But if I give Alex, for example, service reader, going back to this, that's mean Alex will have this. So full read permission to all entities. Entities mean tables, including custom entities. This role is primarily used by the service and requires reading to all entities if you need them to. But that's why we come and actually create a custom security role. And to do a custom security role, basically, I will copy this security role, for example, service reader, and then I will go and change basically what entities they can see. So I will give them, for example, access to specific table to read. It will have everything that they can do, which is the full read permission. But instead to be on all tables, it will be just for that specific table. To do this, you will have to customize security roles.
It's kind of similar to how we do the SharePoint security groups creation.
That is correct. That is correct. It's just here, it's kind of like more powerful, the things that you can do, because you have the row-based security in addition to the column security profiles as well.
Agree.
Perfect. All right. Any other questions?
Excuse me, Ahmed.
Yes. Go ahead, Mohammed.
I have some scenario in Power Page when I have a formula that contain parent and child. I want to submit in the sometimes create the parent record and with many child. It's possible or not possible?
It is possible using Power Automate. Yes. So when you are creating records,
yes,
and these records are related somehow through relationship, yes, you will in Power Pages, it has to be through Power Automate. So basically, you want to create the parent first, and then you create the child, right? Because you cannot basically create a child without a parent, because you have a lookup relationship, you have a related column. So you will create the parent first, and then you will come and create the child after that. So this is something that we do, but you have to do this in using Power Automate.
Another information, it's created by anonymous user.
No, that's completely fine, because no problem, because the Power Automate can run by a service account. So that means you can actually create a Power Automate that is triggered whenever the user actually put the initial information. And once that is triggered, it's going to be running on the user plan. So basically the owner plan. So if you are the developer of the flow, the Power Automate flow, so that means it will run under you. Yes, the user doesn't need to have access to that flow.
So Ahmed, just to add to what you mentioned, yes, definitely Power Automate is one way to do it, and there is another way which uses subgrid. So in the subgrid also we can use and create.
Yes, subgrid. Yes, so the subgrids. Yeah, this is the question was Power Pages, right? So Power Pages, if you have a form and it has the main form, and then in that form you have a subgrid. Yes, that's another way to do that. We haven't covered the subgrid. So the subgrid is basically, it's a control. It's a control that you can use out of the box. So you bring that control, and then you will say that this control will be linking this table to this table. And whenever you create a parent, you will be able to go ahead and create actually the child.
Also, yes.
Yeah, Sunil, that's actually a great point. Have you done anything in Power Pages, Sunil, that exactly? Oh, you did.
I have done that, and I have shared it over the blog also. I'll share the link over here.
Yes. You have a blog? Yeah, come on, please. I would love to see this. I actually I'm attending a workshop this year in Vegas just for Power Pages. I haven't done that much in Power Pages yet.
That's great.
But I have lined up projects all based on Power Pages. So this will be an amazing.
Excuse me, but subgrid, it's necessary because the parent was created first. No?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely
need that.
But my question is, the parent is not created yet. I want to create the parent and the child in some time in the one record.
It can be done. It can be done at the same time also.
Thank you.
It can be done at the same time also.
It can be done at the same time through the subgrid form in the forms.
Yes.
In Power Pages.
So there are web forms like which we have to modify.
Okay.
So I'll share the blog.
Yeah, please go ahead. No,
please.
That would be awesome. And
that might not have covered the complete thing of this particular scenario, but yes, it does cover a lot more. So I think that would be helpful.
I'm not gonna leave you out of the Hawk Sunil today.
No, definitely. I'm sharing it right away. Shared already.
You know what? I was thinking in October, my session in October should be about what? How about this, Sunil? 1 hour, 1 hour session will do, and you give us a demo in Power Pages.
Yes, definitely. So this particular scenario, like what I have shared, covers the Power Pages plus SharePoint integration. So this is what it is, and this has a lot about this as well.
That's amazing. So you have this blog for a while, man. You're running. It's inside LinkedIn, so it's a LinkedIn article.
It's signed in LinkedIn. Yes, I do a lot of blogging and YouTube as well.
Anyone nominated you for MVP yet?
We'll talk about that later. That's fine. I'm not looking for that.
Go ahead and LinkedIn and send me your personal email or work email that you would love to communicate, and let's actually get started by this session. I would love you to lead a session about Power Pages. That would be amazing. Yeah,
that would be great for me as well.
Especially with SharePoint, we will get a lot of audience because just advertising as SharePoint with Power Pages. You just said that, and my mind said, "Oh, that's gonna be an interesting one." So yes,
it is actually. It is.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yes, you see, you already have people would love to join the session, so that's amazing. So yeah, you will definitely, if you are not subscribed to Memphian's user group, please do. And this is for those who are not. So when we do this session, when we create the session, you will get actually the advertisement. So if you go to, I think it's here. Nope, not this one. I believe it's I think this is the one. Yes. So I'm gonna give you the link. So you just need to go and subscribe to this. I'm gonna give you the link here. Subscribe just to receive every single announcement about upcoming events. You will receive them for here for those who are. But yeah, for you, yeah. So actually, we have people already said that they would love to attend that. So thank you so much for sharing this with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's amazing. All right. Any more questions? Oh, that's awesome. I look like I talked too much already.
I have a few questions.
Oh, you have a few questions. Go ahead.
Yes. So I always see the owner column in the tables. What does that really mean? If someone else creates a record, will it have their name?
Yes, they will have their name there. Exactly. That you're right. So if you know what, I'm gonna show you something beautiful here because I have. Okay, but going back here, I think I have a solution, but not this environment. Let's see here. Is it community or demo? I wonder. We'll find it. So yes, it will show you who. So the modified, created by, modified by, and the owner. All of them, they will show you who actually. So the modified, obviously, it's not the owner. So it could be someone created the record, and then you have the created by. So if I go 11 apps, I think model driven apps. Shift management app, this is the one? I wonder if this is the one. I don't think so. Yeah, I think probably it's another. It's demos. Yeah, that's a different one. I don't have the created by. But let's see here. Yes, this one probably. The one I have. Confirmation, field validations, order shipping, cupcake. Is it this? Huh. Play. Not this one. Maybe it's in completely actually different applications. Oh, it's here. Yes, here. Do you see this? That's the owner field. I'm glad I still have some memory, to be honest. I didn't even remember if I had this before. But do you see this here? So it tell me like this record is owned by this Midwest Sales PU. So this is a business unit, a business unit. So I created this record as a business unit. So it's not the, so if that person is belonging to a business unit, then whoever create a record in this table from that business unit, the business unit is going to be the owner. The created by, though, is going to be specifically to the user who created that record, similarly to modified by. Right? And that's when I said, I actually even in the video talking about the security roles, there is one specifically to this. I have a video. You will find it under definitely Dataverse. Let's say I can select actually 2 records, and I want to change the owner of this. So you can actually come and click and assign, and then I can select to me, or I can select to a user or a team. And this is going to be where the business unit comes. So I can actually assign this to me, for example, only. It will be then owned by me. Or I can actually assign it to user or a Dataverse team, which is basically a group, right? Or you think about it as a business user. And then you search for the person here. Like I can find Alex. I know that it's in my tenant. I select Alex, and then I just assign him actually these 2 records. And now Alex is the owner of these 2 records, as you can see immediately here. You see this?
Okay, so it's like if you have physical copies of records, copies, say a report, then you are the owner at one point, and then if you are leaving the company, you just give it to someone else. Or now, if that's
Perfect.
relevant to another department,
Exactly.
you just give those records to, like
That
here.
is correct. And by the way, just for people who are advanced like you guys, if are thinking that, okay, what if I have a million records? Am I gonna come here and just select these? No, 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 no. We do this actually either you can use PowerShell if you are obviously system admins and advanced, you will use coding in PowerShell scripting, and then or you can use Power Automate. It depends on Power Automate is going to run forever for that one. But yeah, you can automate this. You can automate. You don't have to, and you can remember you can filter things right using Power Automate or PowerShell. Maybe you can say that yeah, these record assigned was owned by this person. I wanted to move the ownership to another person. Or if you have another field, another column, you want to use as a condition or criteria. Like for example, I want all people, all records that in the city of Birmingham in England, for example, to change ownership to a new employee or a new charter or a new sub of our company that we opened in England. So I want to move this ownership of these records to that team, for example. So I created a business unit and I have a team, and then I will assign them the ownership of these records.
Okay, that helps. Thank you. Another question I have is we talked about the auditing data.
Yes.
Where do you actually see, like, if you have to go back and look up
Yes.
auditing,
Perfect.
where do you
Yeah.
see that?
To see the auditing data, you will, from your environment, which is the Power Platform environment, you make sure that you are in the right environment that you want to see the auditing. You click on the gear here, you go to advanced settings. And once you go to advanced settings, it will take you back to the classic Dynamics 365. You will click on settings. You will click on settings, data management. Oh, sorry, not data management. It's actually auditing right here. And once you come here, you can click on audit summary view. And if I have auditing enabled here, as you can see, I can see actually, this is the one that we just created today. Do you see this? This is the record that we just created today. It was, this is the assignment. Do you guys see this? The last thing I did now, it was selecting 2 records and assign them to someone else. Remember, we have this audited now here. So I can click on this, the event sign, and I can see what happened. I can see that I have assigned this record. The old value was Mid-South Sales PU. The new value was Alex Welker. That's where you check the auditing. And you can actually, you want to see, for example, auditing based on entity. So I want to see only the auditing is that on table 1, for example, like here, equal, the entity is going to be like what is it? Yeah, like any table. Like let's say that we have customer table, I guess. Yeah, this, I forgot I am in a completely different environment. Here, customers, and then I added this, and then okay. So I just want to see the audits here. I want to see what happened recently for this customer. So I have, as you can see here, I have yesterday, I have an update, and then today I have two assigns. If there is like, if I go back here, for example, and let's say that I will start actually creating a new customer. Let's see that in action. This is, by the way, this is the what is happening here. You will see this is something called using JavaScript. I'm using JavaScript to show tabs based on filling, like to walk the user through certain steps first. So they have to enter customer names first before they can see the address tab. Do you see this? If I take out the name, they cannot see the tab. So once I put the name, and then I can go ahead and put the address. Okay, that's perfect. What happened? And now I can see the email. So after I put the address, now I can see the email, and I can put here and put the email. Now I can actually go ahead and save. And let's go back to this. And let's actually go here and refresh. Do you see what happened? This is the create one that we just did. If I click on create, I can see the field, the value, because this is create. So obviously this is a new record. So you don't have obviously anything to compare because there was nothing has changed specifically to this record, but it was created newly. But if I come here, for example, and I decided that I want to edit this one here, so I'm going to put last name, and then I click save. I go back and I refresh, we're going to have update right here. Oh, where is the update? Didn't save. Should. Okay, save and close. We have updated. So come here, click refresh again. That's create, that's assigned, and this, no, it didn't come for some reason. But it should be actually coming as update. So it's, and this is, by the way, this is going to be deprecated. So be sure it's moving to the here. So we will have this to be part of your environment. If you go to that specific environment and you go to the setting of the environment, you will have actually auditing and logs. So you can see the audit summary view right here now. So you can, that's another way you go to it. Did you see from where? From within the environment, you go to settings, in under the audit and logs, you can click on audit summary view, and then it will open this directly for you. But for some reason, I wonder why, unless if it was a different, no, it is because I did actually update. But it could be something that, let's actually do this. So I'm going to go filter, and again, select only customer, ABC. Yeah, that's weird. Anyway, okay. Yeah, no, that it's look like we just were too fast, I guess. So consider that part of the create itself. But that's how you access the audit. And obviously, as you can see here, this is like built in. But yeah, there is a way that you can access this data and work with them even through application like Canvas and model-driven apps and Power Automate. So you can get access to this data.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Two more questions. I think this will be relatively quick for you. The business process flow, it only works for model-driven app, right? We cannot use that for Canvas app because you can't really see that bar.
No, you can if you have a PDF, if you have a business process flow, no, you can access that in Canvas apps. You just have to work with the processes tables. Once you create a PPF, a business process flow, there are system tables that will be filled. So if I come here and I filter by process, not a machine, I think it's under all. Here. So there is some of these tables. I really don't remember which one. I think it's probably process, one of them. And then you have, so you have tables in Dataverse. Once you build that BPF, you can access the data from here and build your own process of PPF in Canvas app. You can. Obviously, I'm not going to recommend that you replicate what you can do in MotoDriven app, but let's say that you have your requirement is to build a Canvas app just for the sake of the customization. In that case, you have built a custom the Canvas app, but you still want to enjoy this feature of business process flow. So it will still be something that you can implement in Canvas app. It's going to be just a lot of coding, by the way. It's not going to be as straightforward as you have it in MotoDriven apps.
Okay. And lastly, how would you suggest creating recurring maintenance task tables and something just, once someone completes a task, it just automatically comes up for, say, next month?
So this is something, first of all, my question is going to be that, first of all, how many users are going to use this? And the first, the first, what? I'm sorry?
At least a few.
Okay, so if it's a few and licensing is not a problem, or if you have Office 365 enterprise license, that means you have E5, for example, you can definitely, such an app, I would think that build it on SharePoint and Canvas app. Right? So you don't have to think about the license, premium license per user for the, this. But if it's engaging also process-based or process-focused application, and this is the main differences between Canvas and MotoDriven app, by the way, is when to use what. That's a very important question, right? So MotoDriven apps are process-focused or process-based business applications where the data modeling play the initial and the essential and the crucial role of your business application or business solution, right? So you spend a lot of time on the data modeling, relationships, and then security. If this is a solution, then that's a MotoDriven app. But if it's something that you want to just see the tasks, once they complete the task, it move or to replicate, again in the next months. Yeah, you can do that. And obviously to do that is either you can use PowerFX, like if it's a Canvas app, I can do PowerFX to do that, or I can just use Power Automate. So and Power Automate can run like every week or every day and see that the tasks that are completed, just create new records of these tasks that for the next month. You know what this, so it's going to be like a scheduled flow. That flow will run every day. Go through the task table. The ones that are completed is going to be captured. And then in another action in that same flow, we will actually create the same task again for the next month in that same flow. So that's going to be like the number one. And this is regardless if you want to actually do this as an app in Canvas or multiple apps, doesn't matter. But this is just the first thing I would think about. It's Power Automate.
Okay.
Just to add to Ahmed's comment here, so we are working on something like that. So what we generally do is all the repeated tasks, we can have a Dataverse table created out of those, right? And as Ahmed said, there could be a scheduled call, scheduled Power Automate, which automatically creates a task in actual task table.
Well, that's amazing. Patel, do you work for Microsoft?
Me? No,
Yeah.
no.
Okay.
Now there is another one, another Bhargav Patel in Microsoft. Actually, when during our, I believe, third call, AMA call, he was on the call.
Yeah.
And,
I thought, yeah, I'm referring to the same person, by the way, because me and him, we led one of the first session in the Power App program.
yes,
He's
and
very good in SharePoint.
Yep,
Yeah.
some of the other cohort students thought that I was the same person too.
Perfect. All right, guys. I think we went way over the time, so it's 41 minutes, so 40 minutes extra. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys coming, and I apologize if I did not really cover most of the stuff that we said we're going to cover. Look like this topic just is going to continue, but at least now we have a new session about Power Pages going to be next month, so be ready for that. It's going to be completely by Sunil, so he is going to be leading that demo. What I will contribute to that session is going to be because it's going to be in the end of October. So I will bring you everything from the conference. I will just give you the announcements that we have in the conference, the new features that are coming, all this stuff. So stay tuned for this upcoming session. And thank you so much again for your time today, taken from your weekend time, and appreciate your collaborations. And I really enjoyed being here today. Thank you so much, everyone.